towards the very beginning of the video. If at all you leave midway, please don't do that. Please don't. But if at all, links to both my Instagram handles are down in the description bar below. So please follow me there and let's connect on Insta. Stay connected on Insta over posts. Hey guys, welcome back to the magical world of bookwords. My name is Renuka and welcome back to yet another bookish video. As you must have guessed from the title, this is not about a physical book but an audio book that I recently listened to, and the book was so impactful that I decided that it deserves a separate video to be made about. It's not a review, this is just my experience because the book is so good that reviewing something so beautiful seems to be inappropriate. This is just my experience, and the experience was so wholesome listening to this book. And the book is The Dressmaker of Khair Khana by Gail Lemon. So without any further ado, let's get into the video. This is a real story that took place in Afghanistan during the Talibani invasion, when Taliban invaded Afghanistan for the first time in the 60s. So this book actually prevails through the 60s and the 70s. Of course, the author has mentioned that she had altered a few names, she has changed a few names just for the sake of safety of those people, but the entire story is real and it does not feel dramatized or exaggerated at all. And I was so stunned to actually listen to all the experiences that this woman Kamila went through. Our story starts with a journalist, that is our Gail, who has actually written this book. She is a journalist and she wants a story to do her research upon, and she chooses Kamila to do the research. Now Kamila is a young woman who is just getting out of her teenage phase. She wants to get educated, she wants to become a teacher, and her family is extremely supportive. Her father is very supportive. He wants her daughters and sons to get educated. But very unfortunately, Taliban invades Afghanistan and women are put under a lot of restrictions. But Kamila is a woman, a girl of resilience. She is not ready to give up and she decides to do something for her family and her community and for all the women who are under restriction, so that at least they can earn their bread and butter. So this story is not only about a single dressmaker but about a lot of women who decided to stand up for their family and to do something for their community. When Afghanistan was invaded by Taliban, people started losing their jobs because of extreme restrictions. So the income was stopped, people were losing their jobs, and it was actually a very tormenting phase for everybody. And everybody was struggling to survive in that difficult phase. So definitely it was not easy for Kamila to start a business. So she decided to start a business in something that will not come to an end. So definitely she had to pick something that people need, whether they have the money or not. So the basic needs, that is food, shelter and clothing, and she chose clothing, as the title very evidently suggests, The Dressmaker of Khair Khana. She started stitching, and that is how she started her business. She taught her sisters, she learned from her elder sister, she taught her sisters, and she started her business. This business phase was not at all easy for her, since women were not allowed to work, women were to cover themselves, they were not allowed to talk to any other man except for their close relatives, like their father, their brother or their husband and their son, of course. They were not even allowed to talk to the shopkeepers for a longer time. They were not allowed to step out of the house without covering themselves wholly. They were not allowed to wear fashionable clothes, they were not allowed to look good. I mean, it was overall a very difficult phase. I just can't imagine what I would have done if I would have been in the place of Kamila. But since she had a responsibility, since she had so many people to feed, since her father was not staying with them, she took up the responsibility of her family. In spite of being the second eldest, she became the eldest sister of her siblings. And she took up the responsibility, she started the business, and the business was booming just because of her relentless efforts. Her business at that point of time was starting it from scratch. She had to learn everything right from the basics of knitting and sewing from her elder sister Malika, and she also trained her sisters, and she just expanded her business. And mind you, this business was not just a means of earning money, it was also an attempt to empower other women. Other women were also struggling for their families. Their husbands were losing their jobs. Their sons, their brothers were losing jobs. There were so many families who were moving away from Afghanistan. They were either shifting to Iraq, Iran, or they were shifting to Pakistan or Bangladesh. That was the toughest part. Even so many relatives of Kamila and her family were shifting out of Afghanistan, but she did not give up. She was actually resilient. She had the family, she had the responsibility in the form of her family, and her father was not around. He was quite far away. So Kamila, being the second eldest sister, took it up as a responsibility, and she decided to support her family by being a dressmaker. And this phase was extremely difficult with all those restrictions. The restrictions that were put upon the women, and in spite of all those restrictions, the decision that Kamila took: you're not supposed to show your eyes, you're not supposed to show your nails, and if you decide to step out of your house without the chadri that the women were supposed to wear, they were beaten up publicly. That's it. There is an incident that is extremely gut-wrenching that is seen by Kamila's sister Malika when she takes her son to the doctor. She sees a woman being beaten up by the soldier just because she is not wearing the chadri, and she does not have a chadri, since Afghanistan is just invaded by the Talibanis, and before that they were not supposed to cover themselves totally. But in spite of giving so many explanations to that soldier, he did not listen to her, and she was beaten up brutally. That is actually quite traumatizing for us to listen to. And from where did these girls get so much of courage to handle such a situation so calmly and so coolly? Maybe because she had the responsibility, or maybe she was born courageous. I just don't know. But to listen to her experience actually was gut-wrenching, and it is quite scary as well. I mean, yeah, it is actually scary. Since this story is based upon the real life events, there's no question of character development. You can actually relate to all these characters. The language used by Miss Gale is quite easy to understand and comprehend. Also, the narrator has done a fabulous job. And the entire story of Kamila and her sisters and all the women who joined her is so empowering and so inspiring. It is quite difficult for the people like us to even imagine, who live in quite a protected and free atmosphere, that what all these women went through. How did they handle so much of tension that was constantly looming and luring over there, and from where did they get the inspiration, and from where did they get so much of courage? The most important thing that I learned from Kamila and her family, all the women who joined her on this venture, is that courage is not only exhibited through your speech. It is easy to speak out sometimes, but it is difficult to act upon that speech. Kamila did not waste her time in arguing with anybody. Maybe the situations were not suitable for an argument, but she exhibited her courage through her actions. She not only stood up for her family, but also for all the other women who needed help. All the women who wanted to be the bread earners of their family. Gail Samak Lemon has written this book so well. As I said initially, the language is quite easy, but the way she has depicted all those things, and we can actually see the things happening in front of our eyes, and also the situations are quite intense, and you actually feel suffocated due to all the restrictions that are being put on the Afghanistani citizens. Not listening to music, not watching films. I mean, all the forms of entertainment were officially declared to be useless, and they were to be abandoned by all the citizens. Also, this book is not very long, even if you want to read it or you want to listen to it. If you want to listen to it, it's just 6 hours and a few minutes, and I did listen to it on Storytel, and Storytel does offer the feature of listening to the books at a faster or a slower pace according to your convenience. So yes, I kept on modifying the speed of the book. So I don't remember in how many hours I completed listening to this book. Of course, I did not listen to it at a stretch as I have to work as well. But yeah, it is not very long, so it will not take you long to complete this book. Also, it is not a very huge commitment to commit to a book that is 6 hours long, because I find it difficult to commit to longer books like that are over 12 hours, 15 hours, 20 hours at times. Yes, they take some commitment, but 6 hours is quite okay. That is fine. So if you decide to listen to this book, do decide to listen to it, and let me know down in the comment section how was your experience. The link will be mentioned in the description bar below. Go and listen to it. And if you're not a member of Storytel, become a member and listen to it, because it is that good, and that it's worth it. It's worth it. So yeah, that's it. That was my video for today. If you haven't listened to the story, the audiobook as of now, please go and listen to it or read it and come back and let me know about your experience. Thank you for watching the video till the end, and you know the drill. Please leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe to my channel, and help me spread a lot of bookish love.